as a reference source for your APA 6 papers, simply go to owl.english.purdue.edu/owl, which brings you to the Purdue Online Writing Lab. Welcome to the Purdue OWL. Down here in the left-hand side, you'll see suggested resources and the APA guide. This is what we want to select. This brings you to the APA Style homepage, where you'll see information for the APA Overview and Workshop and the APA Formatting Style Guide. You can also find these links over on the left nav in drop-down sections. Clicking on the APA Overview and Workshop takes you to the Workshop homepage, where you'll find information on what is APA Style, why use APA, who should use APA, and quick links to APA formatting and writing styles and citation and reference list information. Scrolling back up, clicking on this just takes you back to the same page as before. Now let's take a look at the APA Formatting and Style Guide. This page takes you to the General Format page. General APA guidelines are listed here, as well as major paper sections, how to format your title page, just like we saw and I showed you how to do in the earlier video. How to write your abstract, very important information, and how to cite the Purdue OWL in APA. If you look at the list of items in the drop-down menu here, you'll see many of the topics that you might find interesting or need help with when writing your paper, including in-text citation basics, how to cite by authors, what's the deal with footnote and endnotes, and lots of information on how to set up your reference lists, basic rules, authors, articles and periodicals, books, print sources, electronic sources, non-print sources, and some additional resources. There's also the types of APA papers and then some stylistic information, including avoiding bias, basic stylistics, how to do your heading and serrations, how to create a proper APA PowerPoint slide presentation, and the sample paper. You've also got information on tables and figures, both 1 and 2, how to do APA abbreviations, and how to put statistics in your APA. If you want to download a APA poster for your classroom, you can do that. And we have also got some notes on any changes to the 6th edition that have been made since this page was published. Now let's take a closer look at the information in the left nav here. Let's take a look at the in-text citations, the basics. This page lists all of the very basic information you need to know for in-text citations. Information on capitalizations and quotes, italics and underlining, how to format short quotations, which appear in text, and how to format long quotations, which appear underneath text in their own text blocks. It also provides information on how to summarize or paraphrase information from a book, article, or other source. Now we can look at in-text citation by author. So we have works by multiple authors, single authors, works by unknown authors, organizations as the author, or 2 or more works in the same parentheses. We have lots of information here, including introductions, preface, forwards, and afterwards, citing indirect sources, and citing electronic sources. This is especially useful information if you're using a Kindle or other form of e-text or e-book. We also have information with sources without page numbers. A lot of Kindles and e-texts don't have page numbers. Going back up, we can look at footnote and endnotes. APA 6 does not recommend using footnotes and endnotes in their papers. However, there is some information here on how to do so and when it would be appropriate versus when it would not be appropriate. Now let's take a look at the reference list and the basic rules here. This gives you all of the information for setting up your reference list according to the APA standards of formatting. If you look down the list, you have reference list by authors, including 2 or more works by the same author, works by multiple authors, introductions, preface, forwards, and afterwards, and how to reference those. Information on referencing a list, articles in a periodical, including journals, page-aided by issue, magazines, newspapers, letters to the editor. Then we have the more standard reference list by books, and all the different forms of books and how you should reference those. Other print sources, including encyclopedias and dissertation abstracts. And electronic sources. This is very important because it shows you how to do scholarly articles that you find online, articles from an online periodical, articles from an online periodical with no DOI assigned, articles from a database, online abstracts, how to cite from a newspaper article, and electronic books. Once again, this is very important if you're using a Kindle or other form of e-text to do your reading. It tells you how to go through chapter and section of a web document or online book chapter, how to cite online book reviews, online encyclopedias and dictionaries, data sets, graphics, qualitative online lecture notes and presentation slides, non-periodical web documents, computer software, emails, online forums, blogs and video posts, wikis, audio podcasts, and video podcasts. If you want to use a non-book reference in an electronic source, make sure you read over this page carefully. We also have other non-print sources for anything not previously covered, including interviews and personal communications and motion pictures. A motion picture videotape, television broadcasts, single episodes, music recordings, and other forms of non-standard communication. The next section, Additional Resources, tells you where you can find more information on using APA 6, both print resources and online resources, including the APA Style website and the APA Style blog. Both of these sites are very useful. They also list the types of APA papers, including experimental reports and literature reviews. Now let's look at APA stylistics. In APA, it's very important to avoid bias. We are writing scholarly research papers, things that are, potentially could be printed and published. So we want to make adjustments to labels. We want to avoid gendered pronouns and find alternative descriptors. And this page will tell you how to do that in some pretty good detail, including links to removing bias in languages, removing bias in language based on race and ethnicity, which this site gives you a bunch of articles that explain that, and then removing bias in language when it comes to sexuality. Now it goes on to looking at the APA stylistics basics. So we have point of view and voice, clarity and conciseness, and word choice, and avoiding poetic language. We might want to write fancy sentences in our papers, but APA 6 says to be concise, to be consistent, and to not be overly flowery in our descriptions. We're writing scientific papers here. Next we go on to heading and serrations. APA has some very strict guidelines on how to do this, and the chart listed here, APA headings, is pretty informative as to what they want. So you have center, bold-faced, uppercase, lowercase headings. Your second one is left-aligned, bold-faced, uppercase, and lowercase headings. So on and so forth. They give you plenty of examples of what this looks like. This is a good page to keep up when you're writing your paper so you know how to properly put in your headings. Headings make reading your paper very easy, as we can easily look to see what topic you are covering in that section. Now let's take a look at the APA PowerPoint slide presentation. This is a quick 36 slide presentation on using APA, types of papers, general format, and you can easily click through here or scroll down like this. I find, however, that all of the information in this PowerPoint presentation is covered in these side sections, and it's significantly easier to find that information going through these sections than going through the PowerPoint slides. One of the most useful things on the Purdue OWL Writing Lab is the paper sample. This is an actual sample of a paper written using the APA 6 style of formatting and citation. This sample paper contains lots of useful information. The green boxes here show explanations of information, and the blue boxes show directions. You can zoom in to get closer looks and to better read what's in the boxes of information, and you can zoom back out. And this is especially useful if you're not sure if you're formatting something correctly, if you're not sure that you've put it in your paper correctly. You can actually look at an example of how it has been done. You can scroll through different pages. You can actually pop this up into another open window so you have a much easier to read version. You can print this out. And it's incredibly useful when you're trying to figure out if you've done something correct, to see it actually in a written piece of work. Now, there's also information on tables and figures. Note that there are two tabs here. The first tab actually covers tables only. There is a very useful checklist that asks you if your table is necessary. Does it contain the information that you want it to contain? Is that information pertinent? Does it actually add to your project, to your research, or does it subtract from your project or research? These are all important informations and questions to ask and for you to answer. It then shows you how to format those tables properly, how to put in numbers. Do not use suffix letters. Instead, combine the related tables. When to put in titles, headings, and in the body. Then it goes through some specific types of tables, variances, regressions, and there are some notes on tables. Scrolling back up, you can look at the APA Tables and Figures 2, which covers the figures part. Once again, there's a handy checklist to figure out if what you're using is necessary, if it detracts or actually adds value to your paper. Is the image actually quality worthy of being in your paper? Can people actually read what's going on and actually understand the information that's being presented? Then talks about the different types of figures, graphs and scatter plots, lines and bar graphs, pie charts, and drawings and photographs. It then gives you some information on how to prepare those figures and then how to do the captions and put in your legends. This is all very useful information when putting these types of information into your papers. The next section, which is ABA abbreviations, covers how APA actually wants you to do abbreviations for things like capital letters, states, whether or not how to put someone's title, like a PhD or doctor, things like etc., inches, feet, all sorts of things like that. And there's a handy dandy little chart here that has some things you might need quick information for. And then finally there's the statistics in APA. If your paper requires that you include statistics, this is how you should put them in. It goes over punctuation, the use of boldface, how to do vectors, um, which can be pretty confusing if you're not sure how to include them. Um, there is also some additional information. There's a classroom poster which you can download for use in your classroom or your dorm room, or just to keep on your computer for a quick reference guide. And then changes to the 6th edition. Um, so we have the different versions of headings from the 5th to the 6th edition. Some more information on reducing bias in language and mechanics of style, spacing, approximations, displaying results in the references, direct quotations, and the reference list. It's always good to check this page to see if there are any updates to things that might have changed since this page was originally published. And if you want to send comments to Purdue, you can send them a little how to contact them information right here. So this is your general overview to the Purdue Online Writing Lab APA style reference page. If you have any specific questions that you can't find information for in here, you should talk to your professor. And good luck exploring the APA style guide on Purdue OWL.